Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing great and that you're not stressed. You're super blessed, girl. So today's DIY is one a lot of you have sent me on Instagram. It's this top from this brand called Trois, the label. They are selling this top for $85. And since I don't have a kidney to sell on the black market, I decided I'd DIY this top. And I made mine from a bed sheet, and that's what she looks like. She's fabulous, honey, if I do say so myself. And I see why this top is so pretty. That back detail is so sexy. Get into it, girl. And I just love that I did not have to sell my kidneys and my children on the black market. So that's something I can definitely live with. So in case you want to DIY your own $85 top, let me show you how to do it. So you're going to take whatever fabric you're using. If you're using your child for this, if you're using a rug, a sofa cover, it's up to you. I'm using this bed sheet. She's been with me for years, girl. It was time for her to have a new job. So I just unfolded the bed sheet. That way I could mark out the measurements. So I'm measuring out 36 inches from the edge. This is how wide my top will be. And for my length, I went with 10.5 inches. That's how long my top will be. So you can definitely vary this according to your preference. It's a DIY. So you do you. Don't come for me for what's comfortable for me, honey. I'm talking to all of you. Oh, you can't wear this in public. I can. Watch me do it, okay? I got carried away, I'm sorry. So all I did was I marked out my 10.5 inches all throughout the length. And now I'm just joining those points to the straight line just to make sure when I'm cutting, everything is nice and straight. I'm just making sure these points are a family, they're together, and they've got each other's backs, okay? So I'm just marking it out, drawing a line to join every point together. No one feels left out. And once I had my rectangle drawn out, it's time to cut her out. It's time for her to be a new woman, and I'm letting her do exactly that. So I just took my time and cut out my rectangle. And once I had my rectangle, I pinned it again to the bed sheet because I wanted to cut out an exact replica of this rectangle. Now that I think about it, you can just cut them out at the same time, but I just wanted to make the process harder, it seems, so I did this twice. So I pinned it in place so that she would not move around, and once everyone was nice and in place, I cut out a second rectangle, and once everything was done, I had two rectangles. Remove the pins, and now you have two pretty rectangles. Here they are. So now we're going to put them right sides together because we need to sew three sides up. And now I'm just going to pin the width of my rectangle and both lengths. So this is to just make it easier to sew. No one's moving around and going to the police and telling people what we do, okay? Sewing in our basement. You just need everyone to be in check. And I pinned three sides, and now you're going to sew along all the three sides, and this will close everyone up, shut them up. They're not going to be going to the police after you do this. So I just did a basic straight stitch. My fabric was not stretchy. If you're using stretchy fabric, use a zigzag stitch. So now when I got to a corner, all I did was I lifted my presser foot, turned my fabric around, put the presser foot down, and continued sewing. This will just ensure I have a continuous stitch that's loyal to me and not breaking on me, and just do this all throughout the three sides. So same thing, when I get to a corner, I lift the presser foot up, turn my fabric around, put the presser foot down, and sew a straight stitch. This is so simple to do. You can honestly do this at any point, as you call your sugar daddy, as you call your family. This is honestly super easy to do. So once I got to the end, I made sure to backstitch because I'm a good girl and I follow the law. So once I had my three sides sewn up, you're going to turn this the right way out, and now you have an opening. You don't need this in your top. She needs to go. It's time to get a divorce. So all I'm doing is I'm sealing that gap, and I did this by just tucking in the fabric a bit and pinning it in place. That way I could sew over everyone and they'd be quiet for life. I don't need no snitches in this building, okay? So I just pinned the fabric in place, tuck in the raw edge, pin it in place, and once you're done pinning, you will have a nice set of pins. So now you're just going to sew across that point to close it up, and once that's done, you have a completely sealed rectangle. All four sides are sewn up. So now it's time to mark your casings. I decided to go with 1.5 inches from the top. This was my preference. You can make it longer or shorter, it's up to you. So I drew out several points and I'm joining them with a straight line just to make sure when I'm sewing everything is nice and easy. So I had this long straight line at the top, and below that I went 1/2 inch, and now this is going to be the width of my casing. If you have wider strings, make sure your casing is wide enough to accommodate your string. You don't want to have stress later on, so just make sure your casing is sufficient. And as for the bottom bit, I decided to go 2 inches from the bottom. This was again my preference. Make it longer or shorter, it's up to you. I just wanted more ruffle at the bottom. So once my 2-inch points were marked out, I joined them together using a straight line. They were now committed. They could not leave the family even if they wanted to, because I don't need people snitching. So they're in this for life, and I'm just joining them together, making them understand that. And from that 2-inch line, I drew 1/2 inch line. This is 1/2 inch away from the other line in case you're confused. So this is going to be the casing for my string. Make it wider if your string is wider. It's totally up to you. So once I had my lines drawn, I decided to seam rip the points where the casing went through. And this is because you need a gap to pass your string through. So I decided to do this before sewing the lines, but you can do it after. It really doesn't matter. So I did this on both sides, and once that was done, it was time to sew across the lines to create casings for our string. So this is so simple to do. You're basically going to follow the line and sew a straight stitch. Like, honestly, it doesn't get easier than this. Just sewing a straight stitch across the lines. Just follow the lines, enjoy your music. You can sell some kidneys on the black market. Don't do that, okay? Some people never know, and I'm joking. I'm genuinely joking. And I'm just doing my straight stitch, no care to the world. I am living my life. I'm about to make an $85 top for $0, so I was in a good mood. And always make sure you backstitch when you end and start your sewing, because you don't want to go to prison, okay? So now it's time to make the string, and I drew out 1-inch strips. I had 10 strips in total, so I'm just going to cut them out. And this string that I made was super long. I think it was over 200 inches long. I really needed a lot of string, so make sure you have sufficient string. You can always go in and cut if it's more, but you can't add if it's less. Well, you can. It just wouldn't look as neat. So I just cut out those 1-inch strips. I had 10 strips in total, adding up to 200 inches. Girl, she was long. She was bringing it, okay? And to join the strips together, I decided to do this differently and join them diagonally with right sides kissing. I actually saw Nava Rose do this, and her strings looked so neat. So I decided to try it, and yes, they looked neat AF. So I definitely recommend it. So I just sewed a diagonal stitch, and as you can see, the pieces are joined together. And I did this for all the 10 straps. I joined them all together. And now to make your string, you're going to fold in the sides to meet in the middle, and then you're going to fold that over just to cover up that middle bit, and you'll have a nice thin string. So you're going to sew along one edge to close it up. So now I'm just doing it on the sewing machine, folding it in half and making sure everyone's nice and tucked in. And I just did a straight stitch all along the edge. This is super simple to do, and it makes sure all the frayed fabric is hidden away. No one needs to see her. She is not part of the family, and we do not talk about it, okay? So we're just tucking her away, and I did this throughout the entire length of my string. I was here for over 20 minutes making this strap. It was super long. As I said, she was over 200 inches long, and that definitely takes effort. And look at that. The string is now nice and beautiful, and now it's time to insert it into our casings. So taking that beautiful string, I took a very small safety pin because my casing wasn't wide. Remember, it was just 1/2 inch wide. I pinned the pin to one edge of the string, one side of the string, and then I used it to guide the string through my casing. So I'm first doing the top casing, and just pay attention because we need to create loops and everything. So all I'm doing is I'm guiding the string with my safety pin, really pushing her in there. And this was a bit difficult to do because my pin was so small. She was stressing me out, girl. I almost gave up on this because I was like, girl, girl, I don't need your problems. I have enough problems of my own. But eventually she came out the other side. I took her out, gave her a break to think about her life. And as she did that, I really pulled on that string. Remember, we have a very long string and you need this to be enough to go around your shoulders and around your back. So I pinned the pin on one side of the string again, passed it through the bottom casing, and just pay attention. We are really going to make this string bend over backwards to serve us. So I'm pushing through the string through the second casing, the bottom casing that is, shushing her out, guiding her through, and the pin did behave better this time around, so that timeout really did help. So I'm just being really careful with this, making sure I do this until the pin comes out the other side. So once she was out, she was struggling a bit, but eventually she came out of her shell. So I really pulled on that string, gave the pin a break. She needed multiple breaks because she had a lot of issues. I pulled my string until I had a loop on the other side. So really pull on your string, and as you can see, you have a loop on one side. This is where your shoulders are gonna go. So once I've done that on one side, I then put the pin on the top string, and now you're going to pass that string through the bottom casing again. So you will have two strings going through your bottom casing, and that's because you need them to cross each other and tie at the back. So this is harder to do, especially if your casing is really thin. You need to be patient to the process. Good things take time, okay? So really guide that string with your pin. Do not stress her out. Make sure she's zen. That way she can follow your instructions to the T. You are the boss, but you need to treat her nice for her to serve you. So what we're doing is we're going to create a loop on the other side by pulling the string through the casing. So remember, this is a bottom casing. We're passing two strings through it. So yes, girl, you're gonna be here for a whole year. I tell you, 1 year will pass, and that's when your string will come out the other end. So I really made sure to shush out the fabric. Once the pin came out the other side, I took out the pin because her job was now done, and I really pulled on that string. I pulled her in all directions. I was like, girl, you need to cooperate with me. You need to give me everything I need from you. So I really pulled on those two strings, and now as you can see, we have two loops on each side, and this is where your shoulders will go. And now it's time to shush out your fabric. So the reason we had such a wide bit of fabric is you're going to ruffle it up to create some ruching, which creates that beautiful effect at the front. So just do this until the top fits you. There's no formula to it. Just pull both the top and the bottom strings. Really pull on them, tag on them, make them understand that this is what they need to do. I was here for a hot minute, just making sure everyone's life was together, no one was doing drugs or going astray. So once everything is nice and ruffled up to where the top, you just tie the bottom strings together at the back, and once you turn this the right way out, you have your fabulous top. I love how this top turned out. The fact that I used a bed sheet, girl, it cost me nothing to look cute, and that's what I'm all about. So I really love this top. I hope you do too. That back detail is super sexy. I'm here for it. I'm definitely going to be wearing this to a date night or maybe a night out once quarantine's over. Girl, we're gonna slay this streets, okay? Anyway, guys, that's it from me today. Thank you so much for watching. I thoroughly enjoyed your company. I hope you'll be trying to make this top for yourself. I promise you it's super easy to do. It's just very time consuming, which in my opinion makes the top so worth it once you're done with it. So I really hope you try it for yourself. Having said that, I hope to catch your beautiful face in my next video. But until then, stay safe, stay beautiful, and stay fabulous in your new backless top. See you guys soon. Bye.